This
And
conference will now be recorded.
oh, cool. Oh, thanks for switching on the recording. So the whole idea over here is to make sure that we are getting all the knowledge which is important for us. And so this is me, Ari Singh, as a lead consultant in Canada Europe. This slide will be shared by you with you by Manmohan, and you can get the link to be a connection of me so that we can collaborate further. And this is all about us as a group. So Decode as a certification, we are unofficial Salesforce group. People who are working within Salesforce.com here in Amsterdam. So when we were organizing this group, we thought of let's do a bit of sessions about the architect journey so that we have all the relevant knowledge and we can share it as a group and we can prepare for it. So this is what we are doing. And our focus is to learn the implementation guidelines and the Salesforce platforms, and also what are the recommendations. Plus, also know the limitations and the workaround, so that we can define and design better solution within Salesforce.com. So that is what our core motto is, and this is what we are trying to do. And what we think is that who should go for sharing visibility designer certification. This specific credential is very important. It seems quite basic. It is basic, but it is quite complex in terms of when it comes to designing. So what we are targeting architects, analysts, administrators, and consultants. These are the people who should go for the examination. This is a next step to the certification, what you've already done, and also gaining a credentials, proving to the market, and also within the community that you have good knowledge about sharing and visibility within the Salesforce.com. And regarding the exam is 60 multiple choice questions which you need to answer within 60 minutes. The passing score is 68%, and the cost of the examination is 400 USD, and retake exam is 200 USD. So it is a bit quite costly exam. So we really need to be prepared for it, and we should be in a position that we should be able to do it within the first attempt. Moving to the next slide. The next slide is about the whole breakdown of the exam, that how that is being organized. So the overall 67% is actually belongs to declarative sharing. So it means that point and clicks. Very simple, very straightforward, but the most important part over here is knowing that how Salesforce.com behaves. And as per my experience, I started working in Salesforce.com back in 2009, and since then there is no significant improvement in the declarative sharing. Everything is point and click. There are a few more things which is added, just for example, permission sets, custom permissions, but the base OWD sharing rules, profile, and rest of the things that we define as part of the sharing remains as it is. So it is something which is very, very basic and we should know about it. 25% belongs to programmatic sharing. It means that in a very complex scenario, you should be able to write the code so that you can share specific record information, or you can calculate the sharing of a record and you can share it with a specific person or a group. So that is something which you can do. Plus, the performances also comes into picture. So whatever you are designing as part of declarative sharing and programmatic sharing, you should be able to judge that how your system is going to perform in terms of giving access, because the moment you change a OWD or you create a new sharing rule, the whole sharing recalculates. It's not only one sharing rule which is going to be calculated, it's like whole sharing which is going to be calculated, and all the sharing tables which is part of your objects will be removed and added with the new permission which you are going to add as part of the OWD or the sharing rules or any other sharing parameters which you are going to define. Cool. Um, Moving to the next one, and this is about today's session, user setup. So user setup is something which is important in terms of authorization. Yeah. And what we are going to talk about, we are going to talk about user level permissions, which is there on the user manager. We also have a manager which is updated on Salesforce on the user record, and we need to see that how that actually impacts and what um, behavior which is going to be there when we are going to add a manager license assigned. So we have licenses. So the whole of the Salesforce.com as a product, the license segment is quite important. That what are the licenses that we have, what kind of additions we are using, and what are the features licenses that we have. So that is something that we are going to talk about. User team, what team related list getting added to the users, what is the default accounting, what is the default opportunity team, when that is going to be added, that is also I'm going to talk about, role hierarchy and territory. So these are the major topics which I'm going to cover as part of the user setup. Other things look simple and straightforward. So it is a session about where you're going to know about the whole user setup, that how that is done within the Salesforce.com. Moving to the next slide. Now, this is something which was also presented by Manmohan in the previous session, and what I am trying to depict over here is that looking into a bigger picture. So when we talk about any application, be it Facebook, Google, any enterprise level application which is there within the company's landscape or which is there on the public cloud, we actually work on two specific parts. One part is authentication, the way you log into the application, and the application is going to judge who you are. And if your credentials are fine, it is going to let you in the application. And the second part of it is authorization. Authorization is the moment you are in the application, what you are enabled to see. So if you'll be able to see a record, if you'll be able to see a record, what you can do with the record, if there is any specific feature within the application, are you allowed to do that? That is where the authorization comes into picture. And the highlighted part is actually the authorization part. Rest of the things is also related to the authorization part, but that is something which is going to be deep dive by various group members who are going to walk you through that how that actually works out. Yeah, but it's about authorization. So anything and everything which is there on the user record, that is bound with authorization. So if you are looking at a user record, you'll see multiple things over there, and there is a purpose of it, and that is something that we are going to talk about. Yeah. Moving to the next one, user level permissions. Now, what are these? And what kind of users we have? We have in Salesforce two types of users. One is internal users and external users. And internal users are bound to license like Salesforce.com, Salesforce platform license, which has already been retired, but a couple of the companies already using it. And Salesforce have no intentions of retiring Salesforce platform license, so they are still continuing it. Category licenses, which can be assigned to the users who should not be using Salesforce.com as an end user, but as a collaborator. So that is something which can be done. External users are the community users, and chatted external users. So these are the two types of users. And internal users, if you see it, it can be further divided into two different set of users. One is the users who are going to work day in and day out with Salesforce.com and going to use UI. Plus, also internal users are the users who will be part of the integration, and these users are also going to be treated as internal users. So we also need to make sure that whatever the permission which is assigned to our integration users, which is used in any which way, we really need to make sure that they have all the relevant permissions, and we should also be able to track their activities within the Salesforce.com. So these are the two things. And if we move forward with the user record itself, we see um, certain things within the user record. And this is an overview. So role, profile, territory, permission set, feature license, audit fees, and team groups and queue. This is something that we see on the user record. All of these things have a purpose, and this actually contributes to your overall authorization process. And role is something which I'm going to cover. Profile is already been covered. Permission set is already been covered. Feature license I'm going to cover. Audit field is going to be a very high level overview, which is how we are going to utilize. And we also have team and group, which I'm also going to cover up pretty briefly. And rules and territories are going to be in a very, very elaborated manner in this specific session, how we use it and what we do with it. And if in case you want to summarize the user, these are all the features which is there on the user record. This is what you can see the moment you get into the user. Plus, apart from it, you can also add custom fields, and these custom fields is going to give you extra piece of ability. And if you want to have segregation of logic, that is also you can do. So, just for example, you want to trigger a certain set of logic for a country, say India, you can do that. So, your users will be bound to a country named India, and then the logic is also going to be if it is country India, do this and that. So that is something which can also be done, and that can be defined on the user record. And that's why Salesforce gives us capability to create custom fields on the user record, and that is very, very commonly used. And I hope that you already have experience with it. Moving to the next one, and this is a snapshot of the user record, and the green highlighted part is your generic information about user, the name, alias, email address, username, company title, and this is something which is used within the company, and also the local, which is quite important, which actually defines that the way you are going to look the date fields in the system, and also the language which is defined. So you can also define your language if you want to use in a different language that you can do it. The red part is the one which is always and always required. Role can be optional, but in complex enterprise landscape, it is always mandatory. There is a reason behind it. You can see the user license. So the user license is actually bound to the profile, and your profile is assigned to a specific license. At the moment profile is updated, the user license is updated as well. The blue part is the feature license. So marketing user, knowledge user, service cloud user. So these are your features, and this also actually comes apart from your actual license. So you have to pay extra cost to Salesforce.com, or in some of the cases, it is actually bound to the parent license, which is your user license. So in some cases that happens. And the Ember part over here is that excess features. So just for example, mobile user, Salesforce.com, CRM content user. So these are the features within the Salesforce.com may not be part of the featured license, but we have extra level of control by which we can control that what our user can do within the system. And the yellow part which is highlighted, these are the audit fields. So these are the audit fields which is used by, in some cases, compliance, sometimes security, and sometimes when issue happens within the organization that when my user has accessed it, or in case, okay. So in some cases, this doesn't go well. So what we do is we actually go to these audit fields and we try to identify information. Plus also there is an object called setup audit file, which can be accessed as a report from the UI itself, or also you can go in the back of the system by workbench or by the data loader, which you can extract, and that is way more detailed information as compared to the one which you see on the screen. Cool. Moving to the next one, and now we are going to talk about licenses. As I said earlier, the core licenses is your Salesforce platform, or the community license. And whenever you define a profile, when you create a profile, you always been asked to bound it to a license. In that case, you define Salesforce platform, or the community. Salesforce platform is already gone. We are not allowed to create new profiles on it. So that's why what we are doing, we are actually using Salesforce.com. And for the community users, if it's a custom community or a partner community, that is the way we do it. We define a license, and all the licenses are bound to the profile, and then we assign it. Plus, what we can also do is we can create a permission set which can be bound to a license or may not be bound to a license. But the profile, we always need to bound it to a license, without which we won't be able to do it. We won't be able to create a profile. So those are our core licenses. And feature license are the marketing user license. It means that the moment you have this license, you can use a campaign, you can add campaign members and external information. Knowledge user is something that you can be an author of a knowledge article, and you can create new knowledge, you can publish the knowledge, And that is what you can do. And for the Service Cloud user, it's actually two ways bound licenses. One is that you'll be able to use all of the features which is offered by Service Cloud as a service product. Or if you are a sales user, it means that you have a Salesforce.com license. You have to be assigned with the Service Cloud license so that you can use the console part of it. Console can only be used if you are a Service Cloud user. If you're not a Service Cloud user, you won't be able to use the console. So that is the way Salesforce works. And also there is a combination of it. So if you want to be a marketing user, you always need to have a Salesforce license. Knowledge user goes with Salesforce license. Service Cloud user goes with Salesforce license. And what work.com user is also goes with Salesforce.com. So you always need to have a parent license under which you can have a feature license. But in some cases, the feature license can be used with a Salesforce platform license as well. So that is like giving exclusive features with the feature license rather than with the Salesforce platform license. Yeah. So that is something which can be done. And yeah, and this is something which you can go under your company profile. You can see that how many licenses being used, and you can further audit on it. Moving to the next one, and next one is about the teams. So there are, I would say, four types of teams. If I'm keeping the team related list apart, and I'm going to talk about all the four, but on the user record, because we are talking about the user setup. User setup, we see default account team, default opportunity team, and teams itself. Now, point one about the team. So team is a related list which you'll see if you have a manager and that specific manager is updated on the user record. So just for example, you have one manager and 10 team members. If all the 10 team members are updated with one manager, you are going to see all those 10 people, including your manager, as part of the team. So that defines that, okay, this is your team. You'll see all the team members in it. And if a manager's manager is also there, is updated with your manager's as a user on the user record, you will also be able to see that. So that is actually the purpose of the team. But in Salesforce, out of the box, there is nothing specific which is being used for the teams. But if you want to have a customized way of doing it, you can also do it. Plus, it also gives you a snippet of that, excuse me, how all of the team is organized. So that is purely based on the users, which is updated on the user record. A manager which is updated on the user record, and based on that, you will be able to see the team. So there is one piece of it. Now moving to the default account team. Now these are the people these are the people who are assigned to a specific account. This is just an example. Now, just for example, you are account manager. Now you work certain set of people within a company to approach an account for a specific deal. Just for example, solutions manager, technical account manager, managers of support, and these uh, people is something you always go to a customer and talk to them. And you also want them to see the deals or the accounts you're working on. So what you can do is you can define a default account team. And this related list will only be visible when the account team is enabled in your organization. If the account team is not enabled, you won't be able to see it. So account team on account is a different piece. I'm going to talk about that as well. But default account team is something that you specify. And the moment you become the owner of the account, the default account team is going to be updated on it. The same thing goes with the default opportunity team as well. So if you are working on an opportunity and you want to show the opportunity information to the team you work with, you can update the person under the default opportunity team, and the person will be able to see it, and you can define what level of access that person is going to get on the opportunity. And as I said on the slide as well, that always updated by the user. So me as a user, I can update that. And this will be used. And now moving to the account team and the opportunity team, not the default one. So on the account team, there is a related list which you can see. You can define, you can update users, and you can have exclusive account team roles over there. So that is something which can also be updated. So as and when opportunity is getting worked on, you can add opportunity team members who are going to help you out in for the opportunity. Yeah, so that is something you can do. Um, I think this is it. And in the broader terms, I'm also going to talk about teams in territory management as well, because some of the companies are also using their account team, opportunity team on the territories, and how those are defined. I'm going to show to you. Um, Moving to the next one, the manager one. So as I said that there is a field called manager, which is there on the user record, and you can update it. And that signifies that within the organization or within the sales org, who is the person you report to. There can be a situation that, as per the company organization, you are reporting to one person, but as per the sales organization, you are reporting to another person. Just for example, in a dotted line. So this is always important. Why? Because this field can be used in approval process, workflows, and process builders in field updates. So this is which is going to help us out to push a record for approval in the approval process. If we are going to define field update that is going to be within the workflow or in the approval process or in the process builder. So this field is important. So uh, there can be a scenario where a new person is getting added into the system. There can be a document which is something which will be followed by the person to make sure that whole of the Salesforce is aligned in a way that it should be working with the logic. So a person who is getting access, he should go to the user account, he should update his manager, because our approval process, workflows, or process builder can be dependent on that. So that's why the manager information is important. Um, yeah, and moving to the next one, that is delegated approver. Delegated approver is updated in case a user uh, is ill or is on vacation. So a person who is approver of a specific processes, that person can update this delegated approver. He can be a person on the same level or person on above, and all the new approval records, on all the new records which is getting pushed into the approval process, will be routed to the new dedicated approver, not to the designated approver. So this is going to help us out to approve the record, and these records will be approved by the dedicated approver. And also need to consider over here is the records which is already being pushed for the approval process, and the delegated approval was not updated for the approver, then it will be routed to the designated approver, not to the delegated approver. So these are the few considerations that we need to do. And when it comes to the troubleshooting part, or we need to make sure that the system is behaving appropriate manner, we really need to see that at what time delegated approval was updated and when was the designated approval updated it. So that is the way we have to do it. So I think this is it. I need just want to check, because I'm moving towards the bigger picture, which is role hierarchy and territory management. Any question related to this one, or any point that we need to highlight to the audience now? Okay, no worries. What I'll do is I'll take that as a no and move to the role hierarchy, which is one of a major topic that I was planning. Okay, now role hierarchy. So role hierarchy represents a reporting structure in a company. It can be any which ways. It can be in a way where sales team, sales operation, professional organizations are organized. It can be based on the country level. It can be based on the regional level. And what it does, it actually enables to view, edit, and report on all of the data which is owned by or shared by the users below them in the role hierarchy. And this is something which is quite important. Why it's important is because for the standard object, if you've been into the previous session of Manmohan, you might have seen is that grant access using hierarchies is something which is default check for standard object. So it means that you won't be able to uncheck it, and that's why the whole of the visibility flows with the help of the role hierarchy. That's why the role hierarchy is important. Plus, role also gives us exclusive access to control the access for contact opportunity in cases, and I'm going to show how that can be done. Plus, I'm also going to talk about that in which situation you can use it. Um, so this is example of role hierarchy, that how it can look like. It can be a flat structure, it can be a hierarchical structure. Flat structure is pretty basic and simple. We can have roles which is much more based on the kind of duties a person is doing. Just for example, we have professional services, we have support, and we have sales. So these are the basic way of function within the organization. Or we can have a complex structure in which the roles are actually defined based on the territories. So territories I'm going to talk about, but territories is what I meant over here is the regional base. So just for example, in the hierarchical structure, we have a North America sales director, then East Coast sales director, and West Coast sales director. And under this specific person, we have New York sales director, and the account manager is reporting to him. And this is the way we can also define our roles. There is one important part which we really need to consider, and I'm going to talk about that in terms of scenarios, that how and when to use what should be the best way to define a role hierarchy and also the territory hierarchy, so that we can use both of them in conjugation in together basis. And this is also important because the way we are going to define a role hierarchy and the territory hierarchy, it should be simple to use, easy to manage. So these are the two principles that we need to follow when we have to think it through as architect. So it always needs to be very simple to use. People should be able to make out that, okay, which specific role I'm talking about, this territory I'm talking about. This I'm going to talk further in the next slides. Um, yeah, and this is something that we also need to make sure that this is properly designed and should be managed within the company and also by the admin. I'm going to talk about is in the coming slides in details. Yeah. Moving to the next slide, and this is something which is important. Now, if you see that we can define OWDs where we define base level access, we can define sharing rules, which also defines a next level of access. But on roles, we get contact, opportunity, and case access. These are the three exclusive access which we can define on the role itself. And if in case you have defined your contact control by parent, you will not be able to see the option. If in case you have defined your case access control by parent, you won't be able to see these options under the role. This comes only in case the whole access for all these three objects is defined as private. Because in this case, you want to use this. And what are the three options that we have for each object? That is that a user in this role cannot access contacts that they do not own. What it means is that if they do not own the contact and they own the account, they will not be able to access it. The second one is if they will be able to see all the contact associated with the account, and if they have access, regardless who owns the contact. So if they are the owner of the account, they will be able to see each and every single contact underneath the account, and edit is something they will be able to see plus edit the contacts if they own the account. So that is something which is on the contact, and the same thing replicates on the opportunity and the cases as well. So this is extra piece of access. Now, how you can use this? Just for example, there is account manager, and you want to make sure that account manager should always and always need to have access to all the cases. or to all the contacts. So in that case, what you can do is your organization is free to create contacts for our account, which will be driven by another level of access, which can be by the sharing rule or by a specific permission on the profile. But what you can do over here for the user, for the person who is going to be assigned for this role, is that he will be able to view all the contacts or all the cases on the account, which is something which he's owning. So this is going to make sure that we have extra piece of access. So for me, this is exclusive access which we can define. So in this case, what we have to do is we don't have to create a sharing rule. So the sharing rule is something we had to create. So we don't have to create the sharing rule, and this will be driven by these three axes on the role itself. So this is extra piece of access that we can do it. So as I'm continuing with the same phrase what Manmohan stated in the previous session, where he said that the in Salesforce we cannot restrict the access, we can only give the access. So what we talked about in the previous session is first we make a OWD as private and further we open it. So this is one of a piece where we can further utilize. So we have OWD as private, and these access can help us to open up the access. And this can vary on a different manner. Now, how this can vary on a different manner? I'll take this example. Now, my professional services, these are the scenario things I'm talking about. My sales should be able to see only the accounts which they own. So just for example, my country account manager who is managing a single country, he should be able to see only the accounts which is part of the country. So he is going to own the account. But my support, which is on the country level and the country agent is working on it, he should be able to see it. And my professional service is on the country level. So my sales is on the country level. My support is on the account level. It means that specific set of accounts will be dealt by a support agent, or he'll be dealing all of the accounts in a specific country. In that case, what I want to do is that my sales should be able to see all the cases which is raised under the account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use view all. So case users in this role can view all cases associated with the accounts that they own, regardless of who owns the cases. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to create a sharing rule. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check this radio button, and what this is going to make sure is that any case which is created by the support agent will be visible to the sales sector because he's owning the account. Now, coming to the second point, my professional services, which is actually dealing on the country level, he is not owning any account. Now, what I have to do is I need to make sure that he should be able to see the all the cases which is getting created on that account. Then in this case, what I have to do is I have to create a sharing rule. So this is what the beneficial part is. So in this scenario, I have already decreased one sharing rule, which I had to create it over here to share the cases from the country agent to the country account manager. And this is the way you can use it. So this is one of example by which I can use these features. And yeah, this actually gives me exclusive access to the contact opportunity in cases, and I can define certain level of access by which user will be able to see it. Yeah. Now what I'll do is I am going to move towards the scenario which I was planning to talk about, and the first scenario is replicating designations versus reporting hierarchy of the company. Now, what I talked about here is a specific set of uh, functionality or a role within the company, and also the region based. So one person is actually dealing with the East Coast part, another person is dealing with the New York sales itself. Then how we should be uh, defining the role hierarchy. Then my question to you as our audience is, what do you think that it should be the best way to define a role structure? What should we go for? We have to take two principles over here. Is one is easy to manage, easy to use, and easy to manage. So these are the two things which I'm thinking about. How you do it? This is something that if you can let us know as yeah, to all of us. Anyone who have a bit of in-depth idea that how you use it? Because the thing is, what we are doing is we are actually using a reporting hierarchy of the company within Canon. And what we do is we have country-based roles because our sales organization is a bit complex. So that's why we are using it. And we are also using territories. And territory is something that we are going to talk about later. Anyone, Manmohan,
So
anything
yeah,
from your side?
yeah. So thanks, Hari. In our organization, unfortunately, we are not using territory because our sales are done by the agent, and in most of the cases, the agent should be able to see each other's records. That is how the structure is. So we have kept a very simple hierarchy, just cloning what our organizational structure is, and therefore our role hierarchy uh, is not that playing role because we have a public access, as I said, for an account because uh, the agents are working on it and they should be able to see most of the time the account, even though they own the account. So therefore, it's just on a plain structure of the company hierarchy, but it makes sense to understand it. I think you will be covering some scenarios, right, in the combination of territory and the role hierarchy, and that is where I think
Correct.
would be more interesting. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, that is something I'm planning to do for sure. Yeah, because what I've seen, it's always challenging to define a role hierarchy. That how we should define it. I have seen in some cases, just for example, in a former company, what we had done is we actually defined the role hierarchy based on the job roles, and the profile were also assigned in the same manner. So, just for example, there is a medical representative. So, what we said is France medical representative. So that was a role that we created because we wanted to chalk out all the roles based on the country level, and the profile was created on the with the same name as a medical representative. So what it was doing is it was giving two information. The first information is based on the profile, the guy is a medical representative, but based on the role, it was giving it he is a medical representative of the France. So that is the way we are doing it. The whole idea over here is to define the whole hold the role in a way that it should represent a country's working organization. But if it's working on the EMEA level, it's going to be different. It all depends upon company to company. In some cases, it actually justifies that we should do on when it comes to the complex organization, we do on the department manner because department manner is going to make sure that each and every single person is organized in a way that he is reporting properly within the Salesforce itself, and it's very easy to define the data access within the Salesforce.com as well. So that's why people try to replicate the same thing. But in a smaller organization where there are less people or there is a Salesforce instance which is implemented to a specific set of business unit, it can be way more simpler. So it all depends, and it's something that we really need to get in touch with the business, try to identify that okay, what are the important things that we have to consider. Yeah,
Yeah. The only thing, based on my experience, I would like to add that uh, just keep that in mind that your role hierarchy would be will have options and will give you more control when you set your OWT mostly to a private. If you already make it public,
correct,
then your role hierarchy will not give you more options to handle your organization data.
correct. Yeah, indeed. Those are the most important consideration that we have to do. That's true. That's true. Cool. Moving to the next one. Any specific scenarios you guys have the contact opportunity cases access on roles? Because sometimes people do not use it. Sometimes they are used very smartly. Uh, because what we use is we actually have a business operations organization which actually deals with the cases, which is most about the customer inquiries, about their orders, their purchases, their POs, everything. So what we have done is we have put the case as um, case with the view all. So what I'm talking about is this specific scenario, this specific option. So user in this role can edit all the cases associated with the account that they own. This is what we are using it, because this actually gives us more flexibility rather than creating the sharing rules. Do you guys also have any scenario which is useful for the opportunity, which is very unique to your organization?
I can give you an example of what we are doing with the cases and opportunities and account. Uh, uh, Basically, I works for a telecom organization, and
Yeah.
cases are basically an important way of assigning work to multiple teams. So when a
Hmm.
sales is done, and a sales rep is only responsible of getting the customer and making the sale. Now the sales
Hmm.
is already only considered done when it is the product is shipped to the customer and the customer starts using it. For example, let's say you applied for an internet for your home. So for an sales rep, taking your information and collecting the payment may be the sales done, but from an end customer perspective, till the time you see the internet working on your mobile or your laptop, is actually the work done. So what we do is we create on a multiple cases for a different team who are responsible for going and installing the things, for responsible for making the changes and the backend system in order to, let's say, activate it, deactivate it, things like that. So what we do is we create a cases, but though these cases are against the opportunities and against the account, we don't give sales rep an option to edit it, because what they'll do is to get their commissions, they may close these cases even though the cases are not done by the respective team. So so for us it is important, though they are the account managers or the sales managers, they should not have access to all types of cases to edit and close it. So therefore the option which Hari was highlighting, right, that all the agents should have an access to edit all the cases and close all the cases if they are the owner of the account, is important for you to understand the use case. In some cases it makes sense to do it, but it in other cases, for example, the example I gave, it may be dangerous, because if the case is closed, the backend team will not know that they have to do certain settings for the customer to enable the product to get the final product, and then sales rep may get the commission and move it to the next customer. So the customer can call back and always ask for it, but then it won't be a very good customer experience. So the reason, right, we are highlighting all these pointers are, though these are just click and save, they have a deep meaning behind it, and we have to be very careful as an architect, as a solution designer, to understand the long-term impact to it. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, a very good point. Thanks for highlighting that one, Manmohan. I also, the same concept what you're talking about, the cases we have actually done with the contacts. Now, everyone is aware about GDPR, one of the most burning topic that we have it. Now, what is a requirement of the GDPR. Yeah? So there is something which is called as anonymization. Anonymization is that you're identifying a contact and making all of his details nullify. It means that he should not be readable and everything. Ideally, we should be deleting it, because there are some of the other things that we have already done within the Salesforce. This is something that we cannot do that. Now, how we are using the option of view all and edit all. So it means that this is the thing I'm talking about. Users role can edit all the content associated with the accounts that they own. Okay. Now, what we are planning to do in the system, this is something which is kind of use case, that we are going to give our privacy champion, the person who deals with the GDPR request. This lady is going to sit on the top of the role hierarchy. All the visibility is going to flow to her. And what we are going to do is we are going to use this feature to give her editable access to all of the contacts. Now, this is something that we are trying to achieve, but we are still calibrating it. So, our first approach is, rather than creating a sharing rule for her, we are trying to give her access by the this specific option itself. So, this actually reduces a bit of extra administration burden on us. And this is one of a scenario that we're exploring. So, in my recommendation would be is that if if we are getting a request for contact, opportunity, and cases, we really need to consider these three options before moving towards the sharing rule. Because in Salesforce, it's not the best solution; it's a most optimized solution. Most optimized solution is the best solution in Salesforce, because if in case we are using out of the box functionality as much as possible and doing a very less customization, that is the best situation. So that is the approach that we take it. We follow it as a principle, and that is the way we do it. Now, any other point anyone like to add over here? Because I want to take the next topic, which is enterprise territory management. And what I'm thinking about is that we can take a break and then we'll start. What do you say, Manmohan?
I think
Yeah,
Raja want to say that, yeah. Well, let's
Oh,
hear
yeah,
out
sure.
his question, yeah.
actually, nothing related to this specific point, but what I want to mention is, so whatever we seen this in the role, we have the contact and opportunity and account, right? But all these three things, the account is mandatory, right? In case we are having the contact without account relationship, then this option won't work, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, the same thing in the
You're
sharing.
right.
Yeah, the same thing in sharing rule also. If you are having some sharing rule also, the contact should be associated with accounts. So otherwise, the sharing rule won't work. For this, actually, we faced this scenario in one of our implementation. So what we are doing is we are creating some dummy accounts. Our need is we don't need the accounts, but we need to share the contacts. But without account association, the sharing rule won't work. Further, what we are doing is we are creating some dummy accounts. We are assigning the randomly to the contacts. Then we created the sharing rule. I thought whether we can able to use this option or not, but here also account is mandatory, right?
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
Account is mandatory because this is what it says that regardless who owns that contact, or here it says owns that associated with the accounts that they do not own, that they do own. So it's all about account ownership.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
in
yeah,
community,
yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
Raja, go for it.
Yeah, in community we have similar kind of settings, right? We can share the account and cases, right? Is this same or is that different in the community point of view? The sharing.
Oh, that's different, and that is something that we talked about in the previous session. Manmohan, do you remember that we were talking about in the when we edit the OWD and we go down, we'll see a couple of options over there.
Yeah. So, Raja, I think your question is good. We'll cover it maybe as part of our next session. Uh,
Okay.
in the previous session, we have covered internal, external OWD setting, but when it comes to community, we have a separate session to cover it, that what kind of licensing it required. And then when we enable the community, what would be the best guidelines for sharing and visibility perspective. So we'll have a session on it.
Okay, thank
Cool. Yeah,
I
and one more question. Yeah, just the last one, Manmohan. That's a question to you. When you said that you created dummy account, why not to use public view all? And the profile is going to come into picture and they will be able to edit it?
No, no. Actually, the thing is, I don't want to share all the contacts to all the users. So there will be, for example, in your organization, they are using specific set of product. One set of product related contact we need to share to some 10 agents. Another set of product related contacts we need to share another set of agents.
Okay,
So that is
so,
the issue.
so
So
Raja,
we,
got it.
yeah,
if I understood your scenario right, that you are not using actually account. Your use case is more about where you have a contacts and for those certain products. So and therefore you end up creating one dummy account and linking all the contacts to it.
correct. Not one dummy account. Actually, these we did in another project. We faced the issue. So what
Yeah,
happened is
exactly.
underneath the phone account, we are adding all the contacts. Then, if you are having more than 10,000 contacts, then we will face the issues, right? Sharing and roll up summary, all these issues. So
Hmm.
here in this implementation, what we are doing is we created around 1,000 accounts. So randomly we will assign. So we implemented some logic. Randomly we will pick one account. We will assign. So to
Okay, yeah.
avoid roll up summary issues.
Yeah. So thank you for highlighting this point. I think everyone on the call. That is where, right, this group, our group, we give a lot of importance to individual experience. If you heard Raja uh, correctly, what he said is, if you go for these kind of things, account and a contact relationship has a limitation of 10,000, and as soon as you hit the 10,000, uh, you'll have a problem with your sharing rules, your visibility, adding more contact to it. Even your search will be slow. So these are the things you will not find in the books. These are the things you will
Hmm.
learn by your experience. So our agenda on this call is to bring all those experience together, right? And you share your experience. Now, before we take a break, I have a question for everyone on the call. You see here only three objects: contact, opportunity, and case, right? In our organization, we have lots of standard objects and the custom object. I would like to hear from anyone that why these three objects are getting special privilege to be listed here. Or why don't we see any other object here? Why Salesforce has only given these three objects and a special privilege to be listed here and controlled by like the account? Why not others?
Awesome. Maybe. Okay. Okay.
So with this
Can we guess
question, we
it?
can take we with this question, Hari, we can take a break of 5 minutes. You wanted to have a break. Let everyone
Yeah.
think about it, and we'll do a little bit debate about it, and then I think then we'll move on.
Perfect. Sounds good because this is a very interesting topic for me. Cool. Sure, guys. We'll take a 5 minutes break and we'll be back with the enterprise territory management. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We'll be back within 5 minutes. I'm back, guys. Let me know whenever you're ready.
I'm back as well. Yeah.
Cool.
I guess we can start.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we start?
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Okay. Great. Now territory management, the favorite topic. And first, I want to talk about what exactly territories are. So, the business aspect is way more important than the technical aspect. This is what I feel, and this is very important to understand how territories are designed within an organization and what are the correct right set of questions that you should be asking to the business so that you can refine and make it more proficient. The important part to consider over here is it is your go-to market model, and it is something which is going to define your company's business model towards the customer, and it is going to give an extra strategical edge to the business how they approach to the market. And what business do is business actually defines a specific customer or a partner based on size. Size, it means that how how big that is. So just for example, Tata and Sons is like one of the biggest company in the world. So does IBM, so does Google, so does Shell, so does other big companies. They are the big companies, and they really want to define that how they are going to approach a big companies when they are approaching them to sell a specific product, what they are selling in the market. Or they can also define based on the revenue capability. Just for example, IBM. IBM is using certain set of products, and there is another company which is making cloud products. Now, the cloud products, along with the cloud products, they also make certain other products which is sellable to the IBM, but IBM also sells themselves the cloud products. So in that case, there is no capability that a company can sell a cloud product to the IBM. So that is something that they also need to decide. White spacing. White spacing is a term which is very, very common within the business scenario, and what that is called as that. Just for example, I have 10 range of products, and only 6 are sold to the customers. So it means that I still have a space for 4 more products which is not being sold to the customers. So that is called as white spacing. So I can target my customer to sell those 4 products or a new product which is coming as part of my product landscape. Or I can also define the target customer based on the industry or the geography. So just for example, a pharmaceutical company will always and always be approached by a manufacturer who do say electronics, or they actually make a compound which is sellable to a pharmaceutical company. So it can be based on the industry, or it can also be based on the geography. So yeah, so that is the way they define. It's the core set of business mindset, how they want to define a strategy based on certain segmentation of the customers into the market. So that is something what they do as part of the go-to-market model, and territory is part of it. And the second part is coming to the balancing out how much work account manager or account team can do. Um, we as a IT person, what we have a Jira, we have capacity metrics, we do pointing system, we assign certain user stories to the developers, and that is the way they build it up. But what about account managers? We really need to have a clear mechanism that we should assign certain set of accounts, certain set of workload to them so that they can manage it. If we are assigning too many accounts to a single account manager or to the rest of the sales team, it is going to be overburdened to them. So that's why what we do is we define our territories in a way that those are properly structured, properly aligned, and we have right set of people. So just for example, we are a specific company which is part of the high-tech company in terms of the industry. That is where we need a technical account manager. A sales account manager may not be sufficient because we are going to talk to the technical people who are working within the company. So it means it's very much important to design a specific workload to the company they are approaching, and that is going to balance out the whole sales team so that they can manage all of the accounts which is assigned to them. And this is also important to calculate the profit and loss, the P&L. So I'll just take example of Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com UK was part of EMEA. So that was their territory. So in the whole region, when it comes to the EMEA, UK was part of it. Now what they have done is UK is spun off, and that is a separate regional territory. It means that the UK sales force is managing their own P&L, profit and loss. And in some of the cases, they also, in most of the cases, they actually use territory to calculate the revenue and the commission. So just for example, account manager is selling something, they should be able to calculate the commission they have to pay. It is going to be on the account manager level, or it can be also on the territory management level. So just for example, account manager, his contract with the company is to sell X amount of things, and he is going to reap X into 2 amount of commission on it. What about that commission is actually distributed to whole of the sales team? So just for example, solution manager. Solution manager is not only the account, but he should be the part of the commissions. So in that case, it is going to be helpful to calculate the revenue to calculate the commissions as well. And the territory is also used to define the coverage of the account. So just for example, there is X accounts in a country. We want to distribute in a specific fashion so that it is balancing it out. We are going to use territories in that case. So the business aspect is way more important than the technical aspect, is what I feel. But for the examination, it's very important to understand the technical plus the business aspect, because business aspect is going to make you understand that how that quotient is designed and what should be the way within the sales force you'll be working so that it is catering all the business requirement which is being put up by your business. So that is important. And in addition to that, what I've done over here is, so this is all the go-to-market model. What is go-to-market model is that a company, just I'm taking an example of VMware. This is the company I work for. They were very aggressive in the market. Every 6 months, all the account managers used to gather in one room, and they used to decide that which customer there is a potential of earning more revenue. They used to do that, and then they used to move that customer up and down in the territory. And I'm going to show you what kind of territories that we can have it in the coming slides. And what they used to do is they used to move a customer as a named account. Named account is like my focused account. This is the major account. This is where I have to maintain my relationship so that I can earn more profit out of it, more revenue out of it. That is what they used to do. And this is something they used to do them by themselves. But there can be a consulting company, just for example, McKinsey, PwC, Ernst & Young, What these people can do is they can come to the customer premises, they can identify that what are the best performing products and which customers are using it, and what are the least performing products and which customers are using it. And if they see there is a gap that the least performing product is used by the customers and they don't have the best performing products, so there is a capability of selling best performing products to the least performing products company. So that is the way how they can define the whole go-to-market model, and that is where the whole things comes into picture. Where we as a technical team, we have to define a territory model within the Salesforce.com so that it can cater to the business needs. And that's why the enterprise territory management came into picture. And I'll show you that what were the limitation of, I'm going to talk about that what were the limitation of territory management 1.0 and what are the beneficial part of territory management 2.0. So it's important, and for this, what you can do is to enhance your business knowledge about that how go-to-market models are defined, how the whole strategy is being defined. That is something you can read on these 3 blogs. This is going to help you out to understand that how whole strategy of the business is being defined. And the most part of us as a person sitting between technical team and with the business is to understand that how model looks like, what can be the underlying technical aspect which we can build, which is going to work with territory or in the conjugation with the territory itself, so that we can cater to the business model's needs. So this is very much important. In some of the cases, we have to create new custom fields on the account so that carries the specific market segmentation information on the account. Based on that, we can define a coverage, and the territory rules can run, and we can assign specific accounts to a specific territory, hence to a specific sales team as well. So these are the topics which you can read. This is not part of a certification exam, but this is going to help you out to understand the model itself, the territory approach itself, the approach of a company towards towards the customer/markets, and this is going to help you out to understand the business to the next level. And this is going to be going to make you way more smarter when you are dealing with the customers, so that you can ask them the right questions. Cool. This is like additional information. Now, what I was talking about based on the size and based on the region. So this is an example where you see that size base are the named account. Generally, they call it a named account as a major account within the companies, within the sales organization. And if you can see here that IBM is a named account, and IBM EU is the headquarters of IBM's EU will be represented with IBM EU under the territory, and then further it will be drilled down to IBM Benelux or the Netherlands. The same goes with the Tata & Sons. So Tata & Sons is the biggest company, and if you want to chalk it down, then it will be Tata Steel, Tata Telecom. These are the major accounts where a company will be dealing with, and these can be further drilled down into a different set of regional level territories. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the region-based territories where it is going to be the regional specific ones. So just for example, EMEA, in EMEA, we have UK and Benelux. And within the Benelux, we have Netherlands. So this is the way we can further drill down. And what I want to highlight over here in terms of the postcode is to define the coverage. Now, London is way more complex if we consider in terms of the territory. It is one of the biggest city in the world. It have largest base of the companies within the world, which can be more revenue potential. It means that you can earn more revenue from those companies. But there can be a different situation in terms of dealing with all of these set of companies. There can be a situation that IBM is in UK. There is an IBM office where there will be a named account manager who will be dealing with the IBM. And there will be certain set of account managers who will be dealing with the very, very small companies. It means that we have to define a territory in a level that everything should be manageable. Now, there are two different sides of it. One is size-based, another one is region-based, but there can be another part to it, which is mix of it. And that is going to look like this. Now, why I'm doing this? there is a question behind this one. Why I'm doing this is that I want to enable my organization, which is a big enterprise, in a way that they should be able to manage each and every single account in a proper fashion, in a balanced way, so that they are not burned out. They are managing all the accounts. They should be able to answer all of the questions which is coming out of these accounts. So I want to define is that I want to take a mixed approach. It means that I'm going to define major accounts in the name territory and the regional accounts based on the region territory. So this is the way I'm going to define it. But my EMEA actually remains as it is. My EMEA is going to be a regional base, but within the EMEA, what I have the named account territories and I have the regional base territories. With regional bases further can be divided into UK sub-regions, countries, and country sub-regions, and the same goes with the a country and their state. So that is the way I can define it. And this is something that I need to replicate within the territory itself. So if I take this model, this is something which I need to talk to my business. I need to talk to my business to understand that how their approach towards the customer is. My business says, okay, I want to deal specific accounts as a name account. These are my focus account. It means that these people are giving us more revenue. I need to focus to them. I need to have a dedicated account team, a sales team who should be catering to their needs. And I also want a specific sales team, which is be consisting of account managers, sales managers, solution managers, support managers, who should be dealing with other set of users. And these are going to be very small accounts. And what can be there is that there can be a situation where there is no sales team at all. This for these kind of accounts, what we are doing is we are given this uh, responsibility to the inside sales team that okay, anything which is below a certain X amount of revenue for us, those should be assigned to the inside sales team. It means that what I'm doing here is that I'm making sure that my inside sales team is dealing with the country level or the region level things, and my whole accounting is major account is dealing with the named account, so that I'm balancing out my revenue capability towards the customer, so that I should be able to maintain proper relationship and reap as much as revenue, as much as money from these accounts. And this is something I need to talk to my business to understand that how that hierarchy is going to look like. And then I need to replicate into a territory hierarchy, territory model. I need to replicate into it. Now, this is one part. Just for example, at the start of the year, this is the way they've decided. And on the half of the year, after the midterm revenue, they decided that, okay, some of the accounts has worked pretty good. They are actually part of the regional territory. Why not to put under the name territory? So what they can do is they are pick up those accounts. They are going to put those accounts under name territory. Then what I have to do is I have to create extra set of hierarchy under the named account, put the names over there, and then I have to structure the accounts accordingly. So it's all about how sales approaches a customer. So they will be analyzing the market, they will be changing it, and we need to make sure is as a technical team that we have mechanism within the system to cater their business needs. So just for example, if business a sales director of EMEA comes to us and they say that okay, my territories are changing, can you handle this? I say, okay, I can handle this, but I have 1 month of time to make all the changes. Also, 1 month time is a pretty long time, but I really not want to make sure that my month is getting end is in May. By June is a summer vacation. July, I should be able to have a new territory, and all the account managers should know that what accounts they are managing, and they should be able to cater to the customers. Then it's my responsibility that all the changes done within the 1 month. Now, within 1 month is a very, very tight time. And that's why Territory Management 2.0 comes into picture. And this is why I'm going to the next line and explain you all the details. Now, one thing to consider over here is that Territory Management 2.0, why it's coming, and what were the limitation of the Territory Management 1.0. Now, when we were working with Territory Management 1.0 and all of the territories that we had to define based on this specific structure, we have to deal with the same hierarchy which was already existing. So in Territory Management 1.0, I cannot have different set of territory models. Yeah, I can have only one model, and if I'm creating a new territory and a new assignment role underneath, it can cause a setup locking. It means that I won't be able to manage to make any changes within the setup if my background jobs are still running, which is calculating the sharing of all of the objects which is associated to the territory management. So there was a setup blocking which was there. Plus, what it used to do is that it gives us a very slim window which can be worked only on the weekends because account managers are not working on the weekends. What we had to do is we had to pick up account manager from one territory and update into another territory. So overnight, his territories is already changed. Yeah. Now, these were the couple of limitations that we were working with the territory manager 1.0. So it was not on the enterprise level. It was on the, I would say, very small, medium business level. It was not that robust. That's why what Salesforce decided is Salesforce decided to bring territory management 2.0. What are the good part of territory management 2.0? And that is that we can have territory model state, territory types, and territory type priority. What is a territory model? So I'm talking about this model. This is my territory model. Yeah. Now I can have this territory model and this territory model. In the territory model 1.0, what we can have either of them. We can have size based, we can have region based, or we can have mix. And even in mix, if we are changing something, we have to make changes, and there were a couple of limitations. But because of the territory management 2.0, we can have multiple models. So one model is active, the same model which is in a different state, and there is a different level of territories. That can be a second one, but what that can be into a planning mode. So it means that I'm still planning. So what I can have four territory models. One can be active and other three can be into planning or archived state. That is that territory model state comes into picture. So this actually defines that what is the state of my territory model which is there in the system. So we can have four versions of the territory model. In the initial one, we can add only one. So this is coming into territory management 2.0. We can define territory types. Now, territory types, what are territory types? Territory types is your named account or your territory account. So this is a territory type, size-based or region-based. This can be a type, territory type, which can be defined. And you can also define the priority. So it means that which should be the important one. As per the Salesforce, what they say is that at a specific point of time, we can reap certain amount of revenue. That's why you're giving priority number one. So that is on the revenue that you're giving a priority. But it can also be a second level of thing, which is my analysis. What I'm saying is, just for example, me as a company, I'm launching a new product. And this product is something which is going to be very, very crucial for set of companies. And I'm defining a new territory for that. If I'm new, I'm defining a new territory for that. For those territories, my new product's priority is going to be number one. So I can move up and down these territory type priorities. Plus, what I am getting as part of the territory management 2.0, that I can define triggers for territory type priority. I can define triggers for territory type. I can also define triggers for the territory model. So this is the new flexibility which is given by the API. This is which I can use for the customization purpose. And then your whole solution comes into picture. The best you define your solution, that is going to be the place where you're going to use the triggers and the different logic. And one more thing to note over here is the territory management 1.0 will retire from summer 20. And the rest of the information you can follow over here. You can see it. And this is something which you can follow and you can use it in a way where territory management 1.0 was not catering. And in terms of the sharing, it remains exactly the same what territory management 1.0 used to do it. The only piece over here is that it gives a bit more flexibility as an IT team, as a technical team to define the model, and also business also have a very clear picture that, okay, in a specific time frame, they can define a new model, and on a given date, they can roll out a new model. So they have very clear picture on one specific day, they just deactivate the previous territory model and the new territory model can be activated. This is something which can be done within Territory Management 2.0. In the older version, that was not possible. That is something that we had to do it piece by piece, and we have to communicate to the business, okay, when they had to do it. Yeah. So this is it about territory management. So as we already said that we are not doing a demo of the things, but if you want to see the demo, there is a couple of videos which you can refer on the YouTube, which is pretty good. And if you have already worked with the territory models, this is going to be very straight way of working. The only thing is the way of defining the territories, if we change, it is because the beneficial part which is being offered by Territory Management 2.0. Yeah. Any question? We are going to open the session after end of this when we are going to talk about the scenarios. Now what I'm doing is I'm moving towards the decision tree, and why this is important. This is an older version of it. The new document is been archived by Salesforce.com, but somehow I was able to identify. The only thing which we have to consider over here is the collaborative forecasting is not supported by territory management. The customizable forecasting is supported by territory management, and that is where the territory management 2.0 is also supported by customizable forecasting. So if you have customizable forecasting, you should implement territory management. And when you are going to do the when you're going to enable the territory management, if the collaborating forecasting is enabled in your org, you won't be enable the territory management 2.0. And if the customizable forecasting is already activated in your system, you'll be able to activate Territory Management 2.0. So that is what it is. To give you a summary that what should be the best way of doing it, then just consider one thing. And that one thing they talk about over here, this part. So does your sales organization need metrics access of representativeness in multiple territories? Then you should go for territories for sure. And this is the most important part. When I was talking about the role in the previous slides, so I was talking about that you have one sales organization, you have and that sales organization have different account managers, and you have only one professional services. So I'm just taking example that one professional service person is overlooking for whole of the country, but your sales manager is divided per accounts. So in that case, it becomes matrix. It means that the account managers is going to get access only to their own account, but the professional service person who is doing the solutioning of the product which is sold by the company, he is working on all of the accounts within the country. Then it becomes matrix. It means that my account managers are going to be updated on the territory, but my territory solutions manager's territory will be on the country level. So that's why it becomes metric, and that's why my my sales manager, my solutions manager should be dedicated on the country level, and my account manager should be dedicated on the account manager's territory, which is going to be the lowest territory, and he is going to be up in the hierarchy. So that is what an important part over here is. And they also talk about performance, they also talk about rule complexity, but this is something that you can refer to the whole flow. This is the older version of it, FYI, but you can take the essence, you can judge by yourself of what should be the best way to implement the territory management, if in this case. And for me, the only take when I consider territory management, when it is a matrix one. Each and every part over here actually defines matrix. If a very simple structure, the very first structure I talked about within the role, then you really don't have to go with the territory management. Your role suffices that how your reporting is working within the system and how your sharing works in the system. But if in case you want to use the forecasting, and for the forecasting, it is important that you should enable the territory management, because when you are creating a territory management record, you have to define the forecast manager, which is not here because I have not enabled it, but you'll be able to see a new field over here, which is going to give you ability to identify our account manager, and that account manager will be updated over here. And when you are looking at the forecast hierarchy, you'll be able to see that manager and the amount of opportunities revenue which is getting rolled over there. So that is something which you can see. So these are the important factors you need to consider when you are defining your territory management. I am not going into details. This is something that you need to go through it. You should judge by yourself that what is the important point. But for me, as an architect, and also as per the recommendation of Salesforce, I am going to consider only for the metrics part. And if a question comes in the certification exam that your so and so and so and so sales team, it means that number of people should be updated into the territory, then should be able to cater a customer. Then my answer to that is the territory management. So that is the way my conclusion is, and I think this is going to help you out for sure if you follow the same way of working. So yeah, yeah, that is the way you can do it. Moving to the next one, and as we talked about the exclusive access on the role, we also have exclusive on the territory. And what we have account access level, we have contact access level, we have opportunity and cases access level. This is also something which is usable. The additional part over here is it gives two extra piece of capability, and that is on the account, and that is transfer and delete. By the help of territory, if you define user in territory can view, edit, transfer, or delete accounts assigned to this territory, the person will be able to do it if he is the owner of the account. Then he will be do that. And rest of the things remain as it is view and edit all opportunities, view and edit all on cases. So this is the extra piece of uh, exclusive access that you get when you're defining a territory. And if you're going to enable the customizable forecasting, you are also going to get extra field over here by which you can define a user as a forecast manager for the territory for which you're working on. So that is a way you can also do it. I think this is it. And what I'll do is I'll go to the scenario things, and this is where I want to think about, because I have one way of working, or I have one way of experiencing the things within the Salesforce.com, and you have another way of experiencing the things in the Salesforce.com. It's all depend upon how the architect, how the lead within your systems are working to design a solution. But for me, as I said, the role, if you have a very basic organization which is divided based on the designations, then you should go only with the roles. You should not go with the territories. But the combination of the role and territory comes into picture where you have organization which is regional based, and you have a matrix way of working. Matrix way of working is something where a certain set of team which actually approaches a customer, then they should be part of the territory. Plus, they are also managing rest of the things within Salesforce.com to manage their day-to-day activities. So that is something which is part of the role. I'll take examples here. So I'll take most of the time example of solutions manager. Now, solution manager is a person who actually knows about the technical aspect, because I take most of the time example of high-tech companies because this is what the experience I had. My solution manager is a person who is a technical person. My account manager is a person who is a salesperson. My salesperson is responsible to get more deals in the system, but my solution manager is a person who is responsible to say yes and no to the customer. So my customer can say, can I do this in the system? My solution manager is a person who can say yes. In some of the cases, sales manager will also be able to do it, but whenever it comes to the technical complexity of the solution or the product or the software which they are selling to the customer, solution manager comes into the picture. My solution manager is going to maintain certain artifacts which is going to sit outside of the sales process, but my solution manager is going to help my account managers to help them to sell to the customer. In that case, what I'm going to do is my role is important for my solution manager, because in this way, my solution and his manager, my solution manager and his manager, who can be a director or can be any person, will be able to see the activities which is done by the solution manager. But the sales manager if my sales manager want to show him my account and any related cases, any related opportunities which comes into the picture, then I'm going to take the territory part over here. My account manager is updated on a territory. My solution manager is going to be updated on the same territory, and then my solution manager will be able to see all of the accounts, and my account manager will be able to see only the account which he is responsible to. So this is the way I see. I'm not sure if you already had experience working with this kind of metrics model or not. Please, the floor is open. Just put your thoughts into it.
No, that sounds good, Hari. Sounds good.
Anyone of you guys on the call had experience with the territory management and how the way you used to define it? Anyone, Raja, in your company you use territory management?
No, Hari. Actually, in one of our implementation we are using, but we are using the custom implementation. We are not using the Salesforce standard territory management. We are doing the opportunity owner assignment based on the territory, but we created a custom object.
Okay, and why you created a custom object?
Yeah, that's actually the existing one. So we are following the same thing. We don't know why they decided that.
Okay, yeah, because the thing is, even I worked on a territory management system where the rules and the territories were managed outside of Salesforce.com. So it's like the next level of territory management where actually they also used to manage the orders, which was in a different application system, and they also used to manage the commissions, which was in different system. So what they used to do is they used to define territories and the rules into a system called iLog. I'm not sure if you heard of it. iLog is an IBM tool which is quite famous. And what they used to do is they used to maintain the territories and the rules over there. And all the system, including Salesforce.com, were the recipient system. What these systems used to do is these systems used to consume territories from the iLog system, and then they used to update the respective records. So that is the way they used to work.
Okay. Yeah, here we are simply the territory based on the zip code. We are assigning the owner. We are doing the owner assignment. That's it.
Okay. Okay. And you don't have a concept of a named account or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Anything? Any person? Anyone have the experience with the territories? Gautam and I can see.
Never worked on territory management, just did certain trailers. But I was a little bit confused always like when to use territory management and when not to. Means we can define certain sharing rules as well, where we can assign it to the particular owner from different team or different group. So I was always confused why to use territory management because even in my career I saw very few clients using territory management. Maybe I have not worked on a big clients like Shell and all, but yeah, that's the case for me.
I think Shell for sure they'll be using territory management because you have a complex business. Yeah, because as I said that the more if company have a very complex set of business and they work with a matrix model, they have to use the territory management because that's extra piece of sharing capability you'll get. And also when you have a tangible business model, what I mean over here is that if every 6 months, every 1 year, you're changing the way you approach the customer, you really need a territory management because roles you cannot change that very often because changing roles is tedious. You have to get in touch with all the managers and you need to decide that what should be the role hierarchy over there. But the territory is something, there is one set of organization which actually deals with this. That is like your most of time your sales strategy organization, and they have a very clear clarity that what should be the territories and how they want to report in the rest of the system or within the sales outcome itself. So that's why they always go with the territory. So yeah, for me, as I said, that the rule of thumb over here is that if you have a tangible business model, if you have you want to maintain a metrics system of sharing, then go with the territory because it's going to give you extra edge in terms of the sharing of the records itself. So that is something you can do it. Yeah, yeah, that is what the rule of thumb is, and this is what Salesforce also says. Yeah.
I would also suggest, right, everyone on the call that go and watch some videos from an implementation perspective, because as Hari said, right, it is only the reason you see most of the guys, like taking my example, right, I have more than 10, 12 years of CRM experience, and the only company where I've seen the territory management is being used is for Johnson and Johnson, and the same customer I think Hari was also worked on. So if you have
Yeah.
your business use case where you want one sales rep to very much focused on a particular account, and then you want multiple accounts within that territory to share certain amount of data versus certain things they want to share, certain things they don't want to share, you can write multiple sharing rules, but that not going to help you in terms of organizing it well. Territory management will give you an option where you can manage it well, but if you really want to understand the how part, right, because we never focus on this our group idea is to discuss about why versus how. I think if you want to see how part, right, uh, maybe after this session, right, we can publish 2 or 3 videos where the how to set up a territory management videos so that you can watch it and see it, and if required, maybe because it is an open group, right, where we help each other, if we want we can request Hari maybe to have one more follow-up session uh, based on a target question. So you please feel free to share your questions, that what part you want to revisit and you want to discuss more in detail which is not clear, and if possible we can touch this topic again, because see our idea is to learn to understand the experience whatever we have gained, right, based on our CRM journey. So you let us know, think about it, watch some videos, and if we see that okay the topic which is interesting and we want to learn more, we can always have a follow-up session. We can do that as well.
And we
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
trailhead as well on this character management, specific trailhead for character,
Yeah,
which audience can definitely do. We can share the URL for that.
yeah, we can do that as well. Okay, so do we have
And
more scenarios, Hari, to discuss?
a couple of more, but in addition to your point, we have last 2 sessions for the review. So I
Yes.
think it's a good idea that we'll cover the territory part again. And in that session, we are going to do bits of hands-on, but on a very high level.
Yeah, exactly, we can cover
Yeah.
in that. So guys on the call, if looking at right the how we have planned this session is, so we're gonna cover around 6 or 7 sessions to discuss about topics, and then we have reserved 2 sessions for review certain things which we want to discuss more, or moreover about scenarios and a topic which are mostly targeted on the exams perspective. So we can cover it in those sessions as well. So those 2 reserved sessions we have already capped for it, and then on the 9th session, which is our final session, is where we'll discuss about a little bit that how to approach exam, how is our study looking like, and things like that, and then we will go for an exam. So the idea is learn, discuss in detail, share the experience, and then write the exam, because once you write the exam, you feel confident that you have understood the concept. You also feel motivated that you have a bundle of knowledge behind you. You know the topics, you know how to implement it, so things like that. Okay, uh, any other scenario, Hari, you want to cover? Otherwise we'll little bit discuss about what we're gonna cover in the next session, and then
Indeed, yeah, yeah. And what I'm thinking about, because I think people on the call, they don't have much experience. So I think it's not a good idea to talk about the scenarios right now. What I'll do is in the follow-up topic, which is going to be 20 minutes or half an hour, I'll define certain, are going to elaborate these scenarios so that they have a better understanding about establishing a territory management if they are going to do in future.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that then. I'll cover these topics in the.
Hari, before just a quick question. Before you mentioned the character management, before that there was a topic where you have shown the role hierarchy, and you
Mhm.
have shown a screenshot where and we can define a role hierarchy because it can be shared with contacts or
Yeah,
like opportunities, right? So I had a scenario. I don't know if it's not possible, I guess, per role, but I want to just discuss it. That
sure,
we
go for
have
it.
our customer where we have implemented Service Cloud, and we want our service agents to only edit. They have edit access to case, but they should only have a view access to accounts related to that case. So I think we cannot specify this from the roles, right? We have to define a new profile for that if we want to restrict them to accounts. This is
Good
a
one.
drop down, but this is not the upwards, right? This maintaining this role hierarchy.
Correct. Grant using by that.
So, Gautam, if I understood your scenario, you are saying that you want a rep who's an account owner to see all the cases in a
No,
view mode, but they should be
Other way
able to
around.
edit certain cases, huh?
no, that's the other
Other
way
way
around.
around.
Okay, so they should be able to edit all the cases.
Yes, the cases which are assigned to them, they should be able to edit, make the changes on the cases. But the account is related to that cases, right? Always. So they should not be able to edit the account related to their cases, but should be able to view the cases,
Uh,
view the account. Sorry. So I don't think so.
Okay.
We can achieve from the role hierarchy. I think we need to create a separate profile for that. That's what I learned. Maybe just want to discuss if there is any other solution.
the only way is the sharing rule because you are going the other way journey, right?
Yeah.
That I am assigned a case, and due to that case, I should be able to see the customer rather than
Yeah.
I am a customer and a case is assigned on that. So, being a customer, I should see what is happening on all my cases. Yeah. So,
Correct.
this is from top to bottom. You are asking from
Yeah.
bottom to top,
Bottom
right?
to
So,
top.
that can all be done by sharing rule.
From bottom to top as well.
I think we should be able to do it by sharing rule. Anyway, our next topic is to discuss about when to write the sharing rules. I can consider that scenario when I'll be considering when I'll be presenting the next session.
Yeah. But this is
And
from
there is
role hierarchy. We cannot achieve this, right? This is for sure because I cannot see account heads.
fr- from role hierarchy, no, we cannot achieve for sure. That's for sure. We cannot achieve it. We cannot do that.
Okay.
And one more question to you is that support where support sits? Support sits in the separate organization.
No, they don't sit in the separate organization. They are all service support agents, and
Mm-hmm.
the sales department is different, but they don't sit within Salesforce. So sales is different.
Mm.
Only service is done by through a service cloud, and there is a common sales managers as well who have access to cases as well as account. But the sales service rep should only have the access to cases and but do not have edit access to their accounts because they don't want to let them make any changes at account level.
Okay. Good one. This is a good one.
Yeah, so I think we'll cover this as part of our next session. Guys, if you still have questions like that, you please feel free to post it to us and then we'll try to answer it. So, good one, Gautam. Hari, do you have anything else? Otherwise, I'll just take 5 minutes and then,
No, actually, I'm done.
yeah. Is it okay if I can
In a
turn?
follow. Yeah, yeah, sure.
I have a question.
but it is not related to, it is not scenario based. Just one thing. Hari, let's say for territory priorities, if I set up two priorities and both, like one account falls under both the priorities, then I mean, is it possible if I can do that? Let's say, for example, if I say the postcode is should be between 1100 to 1200, and let's say the total revenue is more than um, 500 euros, just for example, and one account falls under both the categories. So in that case, what will happen?
Actually, that is it. As per my understanding, the priority is only the definition of the territory. So in that case, what Salesforce says is that gives the indication that accounts is highlighted in both of the parts. So this is what I'm getting, but I think it's a good one. I need to get in touch with you. It's a good question. I need to do a bit of research and get in touch with you about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So then
Yeah,
for last session, we can discuss this maybe.
indeed, yeah.
Yeah,
And I'll just make a note of it. Yeah, cool.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, Manmohan, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Hari. So let me share my screen, right? Couple of things I want to highlight for the next session. Let me just share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so one important thing, guys, for the next session, the next event is on Saturday, not Sunday. So I've changed the date to 24th. The reason is that we don't have our speakers availability on Sunday. Therefore, this particular upcoming session we'll be doing on Saturday. The time will remain same, but instead of on a Sunday, it will be on Saturday. So just keep that in mind, and please register yourself. So that we can plan it better. So that is the one thing I wanted to highlight. The second thing I wanted to highlight is that our next topic would be on a declarative sharing, where we'll be discussing more about sharing rules, different criterias behind it, and then how to set up a group and team. So other basic things about like which contribute to, like when you set a business hours, or when you set your let's say holidays, what impacts to your sharing and visibility in terms of your application accessibility. So things like that, very interesting session we're gonna cover. So keep that in mind, that it will be on a Saturday, not on Sunday, and the topics would be from a declarative sharing. I'll be presenting it. I'm Manmohan. I'll be presenting it along with Neha. But the important point to remember is it is on a Saturday. Rest of other session would be done on Sunday, like we are doing it on Sunday. But this is a special thing because of our speakers availability. We are doing it on a Saturday. So these are the two things I wanted to highlight. Please register it so that we can plan it in advance. And I would like to thank you I would like to thank you, Hari, for presenting the session. It was really very useful. And I also want to thank everyone on the call for joining and supporting us. I'm sure that you must have learned something today, and we'll keep trying our best to make sure that we make use of everyone's experience to learn more as in a group. With that note, if someone want to add something, otherwise we'll close this session.
Will the recording and PPT will be shared, or
Yeah,
we find?
good question. So I will send a link of both the presentations. Anyway, I'll try to add it under the session somewhere if I'm able to do it. So I'll put in a comment on the session detail here with the presentation and recording both. Yeah, Raja, good point. Thank you for asking this.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, then thank you very much. Enjoy your remaining weekend, and yeah, goodbye for now. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Hari.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you all.